Hello and welcome to Class Time, your daily classroom for CSEC students. Watch this lesson in real time on Television Jamaica's YouTube channel or One Spot Media. Today's English lesson, we will be focusing on writing the resume. I'm Nicola Bailey Blackstock. All right, now in the last lesson that we had, we were looking at writing the application letter. Now, if we remember, the application letter and the resume go hand in hand, right? Now, some organizations may request just the application letter, or they may just request a resume. But most of the time, they require both or request both. All right. Now, we are going to be focusing on writing the resume. Now, how many of you have ever seen a resume before? Right? Maybe mommy, daddy, big sister, little uncle, whoever, right? If you have, then think of some of the things that you saw on the resume, right? And even so, think about why is it important to write a resume. Now, before we get into the lesson, let us look at our lesson objectives, right? Now, our lesson objectives for today, students, you should be able to state the definition of a resume, explain the importance of a resume, list the different parts of a resume, develop competency in writing by creating a resume. All right, but you know, for me, I'm always coming up with something. I don't just go straight into the lesson. I want to see how much you have learned. All right, so pop quiz. Remember, I can give you a pop quiz anytime. So, pop quiz. Are we excited? Pop quiz. All right. All right. Now, this is based on the lesson that we did before, right? The application letter. So, let us see how many of the questions you will be able to answer, because we looked at the application letter in the last class. So you should be able to answer these questions. All right. First one, number one, what is an application letter? Right. Quickly jot that down. Number two, why should the application letter be short? Number three, what is the most common format used to write application letters? And four, list the parts of the application letter. All right. Now, 2 seconds, right? Just to see how many you'll be able to get. And I'm hoping that we will all get 4, all of them right. All right. Let us check to see how many of them you got right. Answers. Do you have these answers? All right. Number one, to provide additional information on your skills and experience. 2, the aim is to grab the reader's attention, so it is best to keep it short. 3, the block format. 4, the sender's address, the date, the receiver's address, the salutation, the body, and the closing. How many of them did you get right? Did you get all? Did you get 3 out of the 4? All right. Now, if you did not get them correct, or all of them correct, remember, you can go back to the lesson on YouTube, right? Just to refresh. All right? All right. Let us get into the meat of the lesson now. All right. What is a resume? Here it says a resume is a 1-page summary of your skills, education, and experience. The resume acts much like an advertisement for a company trying to sell something. The resume is your advertisement. Just as a sneaker company spends countless hours and millions of dollars designing their latest advertising campaign, you too must spend a good deal of time creating, proofreading, editing, and perfecting your resume. All right, now, let us go back to when we were looking at the application letter, and we mentioned that the application letter is the document that the prospective employer sees before they get to meet you, right? Now, in this regard, what you are expected to do is to sell yourself, right? Create a sales pitch per se, right? Because you are putting yourselves out there so that you are one of the few that are chosen for the interview. Now, the resume acts as the same thing. You're pitching yourself, you're selling yourself, right? So the prospective employer sees everything, right, and is impressed by how you present your information, right, and requests that you come in for an interview, right? So just as how the application letter is supposed to be structured in a way that you are basically selling yourself, it is the same thing for the resume, right? So the resume is your advertising pitch, right? All right, and here it goes on to say a resume is one of the most important pieces of writing you will ever create. A solid resume is the key that will open the door to good jobs. Don't cheat yourself. Work hard on it. Now, why is it that we keep insisting that you work hard on writing your resumes? Now, remember, the idea is you want to be called for the interview, right? So don't just say, okay, then I want this job and I'm going to apply for it, and you just create something and just send it in. No, remember, think of it. Think of a situation where you do not know how many persons will apply for the vacancy. So say, for example, 500 applicants applied, or 1,000, and they only want 10, right? Can you imagine, out of that large number, they only want 10 persons to be interviewed? You have to create your application letter and your resume in such a way that you are among the 10. That is very, very important, right? So you are going to spend time in creating a resume that will catch the prospective employer's eyes, and they will be so intrigued that they are going to select you for an interview, right? So put everything in it. Don't just put one foot in, right? Put both feet in and write a solid resume. All right. How long do employers typically look at a resume? Think about this. If a prospective employer gets 500 applicants, do you really and truly think that this employer is going to be able to sit and peruse 500 application letters and resumes and spend like half an hour on each? Not possible, right? Now, here are some options, and we are expected to figure out the correct answer, all right? So, again, how long do employers typically look at a resume? A, less than 30 seconds. B, 3 minutes. C, 1 minute. Now, if you answered A, you were correct. Employers often receive hundreds of resumes for a single position, as I keep saying. They do not have time to pore over every word on each one. This increases the importance of the smallest details. Now, as I keep saying, employers don't have the time to go through the application letter and the resume with a fine-tooth comb. No, right? Many a times, as it says here, they get a lot of application letters and resumes, right? What they do is they skim through, right? And the ones that pique their interest, those are the ones that they will take from the pile, right? And they may further go through them. But the others, they discard, right? And I don't mean discard by throwing away. They may put them in a file, right? No. That is why we keep reiterating that you need to spend time in writing your resume. It's very important because you want that all-important callback. All right. What should be included in a resume? Do you know? Right? Remember, I had asked you at the beginning if you've ever seen a resume before, right? Whether mommy, daddy, or whoever, have you ever seen one? What are some of the things that you saw on the resume? What are some of the things that were laid out on the document? All right. Now here it says, not all resumes are the same, but there are some common elements that they all should include. The necessary elements are heading. Your heading should include the essential personal information. Your formal name, not your nickname, right, should appear at the top, and it should stand out above all else on the paper. You want them to remember who you are in less than 30 seconds. Also include both your addresses, both permanent and temporary, because you want them to be able to contact you if you are selected. And phone number. If you use email, include your email address, right? So these are the things that you are going to include in the heading, right? And remember, we're still going with, we want you to get a call back. So we want the employer to look at this in the 30 seconds and say, okay, then yes, I'm already intrigued. All right. Now, one thing that I want to emphasize. Now, here it says, if you use email, include your email address. Now, the time that we're living in, we use emails quite often. Now, if you are applying for a job, create a professional email address, right? So, if your name is Nicola Bailey Blackstock, you create an email with your name, right? Your full name can be your last name or even your first and last names. So, my email address would be nicolabailey.blackstock@hotmail.com. Do not write or create an email or use an email with, say for example, Slim Body Stacy. No, right? Be professional. Remember when we were looking at the application letter, we kept mentioning that the application letter is a formal document. The resume is also a formal document. Now, you want a callback. Now, if I was that employer and your resume caught my attention and I start to, go deeper, like peruse, and I see Slim Thing, Stacy, I'm going to say, but this person is not professional, and put it aside. Because the first rule is that you should always remember that you are writing a formal document. So your email address should be formal as well. So we always suggest that you create an email that is professional, right? All right. All right, and this is an example of the heading, right? So if you notice that this person, her name is bigger than anything else, right? Remember, the aim is to catch the employer's attention. That is what we want, all right? The position is there, right? Her position, what capacity is she able to work in? It is there, right? Email address, telephone number, address, and any other way that she can be contacted. All right, so this is an example of the heading. All right, now, excuse me, remember we asked, or I asked at the beginning, if you've ever seen a resume before, right? And the elements that are there, right? And it mentioned that there are some elements that are common to most or all resumes. So we looked at the heading, and now we're looking at the objective. Now you might ask yourself, what is the objective? What do we include in the objective? Here it says, objective, also called career objective. Employers often say this is the most important part of a resume. It is generally a one-sentence explanation of the type of job you are seeking. Your objective should be fairly specific. If you are applying for different types of jobs, change your objective to match each type of job. If you are uncertain about the specific positions available, note your areas of interest. All right. Now, if you are applying for the position of administrative assistant, right? Your career objective is where you're going to be talking about your role as an administrative assistant. What are some of the tasks that you were able to perform? Why are you good at this or in this position, right? So here it says that this is the most important part of a resume. So it simply means that you should take your time to write this part of the resume properly. Not to say that you should not write it properly in its entirety, but remember that these are the key areas that the employers look at, right? So it should be impressive. All right, and this is an example of an objective. Recent graduate equipped with a results-driven entrepreneurial mindset and Bachelor of Business Administration, BBA, in management, eager to join a reputable organization in the capacity of sales representative. Wow. Now, if I was that employer and I saw this, I would be blown away, right? It's short, sweet, right? And it sums up everything. And the wording is beautiful, right? So these are the things that employers look for, right? So no long drawn out thing, remember, keep it short, right? But this is beautiful. It is beautifully written as well. All right, now another important part is education. So the employers want to know that you have a level of education, right? So this part is important as well. So as students, this should be your next section of information. If you are in college, you only need to include college because it is assumed that you have graduated from high school. For the same reason, high school students should not include information from junior high or middle school. You should specify the date of attendance or graduation or expected graduation. All right? Now, what they're saying here is that keep it simple, right? So if you graduated from college or if you're still in college and you are about to graduate, just include the area that you are, your area of specialization. So if it is a bachelor's in business administration, you would not need to include your CSEC results, right? That is what they're saying. And remember, if you are just leaving college, many persons or high school would not have a number of experience. So you would only have, like, say, 1 page for your resume, right? Now, for myself, who has been working for so long, my resume would be more than 1 page because I have a lot of experience, right? Now, again, I want to say to you, please put some emphasis in what it is that you are writing. And I want to also reiterate that when you're writing your application letter and your resume, be truthful, right? Because the truth does come out, right? So don't lie. So if you did not graduate from college, do not make up anything, right? If your only education is high school, just include it. Don't add or take away anything. Please be truthful, be honest, all right? All right. As a college student, include your major, as I mentioned not too long ago, and the degree you expect to receive. Some people include education-related honors in this section. If your education is particularly relevant to a job, you may want to include a section titled Relevant Courses. In this category, you can list classes that might contribute to your employability. So this is a part of selling yourself. So you're adding things on to make yourself more marketable, all right? So if you did some courses that would help you in this particular field, you can include it under education as well and give it the title Relevant Courses. All right, and this is an example of how you would structure the education part of or section of your resume. So University of Miami, Bachelor's of Business Administration, BBA, Management, graduated June 2019, GPA, grade point average, 3.7, recipient, Dean's List Scholarship. See, the person is there selling him or herself, right? Member, Future Business Leaders Association, courses, entrepreneurship, accountant management, organizational management, human resources, marketing, languages, English, Spanish, fluent. All right, so we're going for a break. So we'll be right back for more English. Welcome back to Class Time, your daily classroom for CSEC subjects. If you're just joining us, we are looking at writing the resume. So before we went for the break, we were looking at the example of how you would outline the education section of your resume, right? And this is a very good example, right? Now, bear in mind, students, that it is a sales pitch. Your resume is a sales pitch, right? So you want to be one of the few persons who are selected for the interview, right? And as I mentioned before, this is a very good outline of the resume, of the education section of the resume. Now, if you notice that this person, is giving a little, a bit more information about themselves subtly, but it makes a difference. Now, here it includes the GPA, right? 3.7, right? That's very good, right? So then and there, the employer's eyes will be drawn to this, right? Recipient of the Dean's List Scholarship, right? So if you look at it, you will see some subtle hints there that are used to catch the employer's attention, right? So this is very, very good. All right, now another important section of your resume is experience. Now, for you students who will be leaving high school shortly, right, you would not have as much experience, right, as someone who has been in the field for quite some time. But not to worry, right? So here it says, experience, also called work experience or employment experience. In this section, you should include previous employers, their locations, your dates of employment, and your job title. You may have to create a job title if you did not have one. All right, now, it says you should include the location of your previous employer, your date of employment, and your job title. And you may ask the question, why would the employer want the dates of employment? Now, if you have experience, you have been working for some time and you have the experience, please include it on your resume. Why? Now, separate and apart from the references that you would include on your resume, what some employers do when they look at your previous employment, they may call these persons to find out about your character, right? How well you worked in the capacity and so on. So they want to know about the person that they're interested in. So this would add to you getting a call back. So if you did well at the previous place of employment, this would go good for you, right? Because the prospective employer would say, okay, then, based on the information I got from the previous employer, this is someone who I would want to work in my organization, all right? Now, let me reiterate. Do not lie. If you did not work at a particular company, do not include it on your resume. How is it going to look if you placed an organization on your resume as work experience, and when the prospective employer calls this particular organization, they do not know about you, you do not work there, there is nothing on file to say that you worked there, then the prospective employer would say, but this person is lying, right? And then now what would happen to your application letter and resume? File 13, right? We don't want that. Our ultimate aim is to get a call back. That is what we want. So we are going to be truthful. We are going to be honest. All right, moving on. You should include at least 2 one-line descriptions of what your job duties and responsibilities were. You cannot assume that the job title explains what you did to all readers. Use action verbs to start each of these descriptions. Do not use I in descriptions. All right. Now, in my case, I have worked at several schools, right, before I started working where I am now. Now, what I did is, on my resume, I would put the place of employment, of my previous employment, and I would put the capacity in which I worked below, right? So if I taught English language and literature, I would include below the school that I worked that I taught English language and literature at the CSEC level between the year, or from the year 2008 to 2011, right? So be specific, right? Don't leave the employer hanging or make them guess about anything. Give them the information that they want, but remember, be as short as possible or as brief as possible, all right? And remember, do not use I in descriptions. All right, now an example of work experience, right? Business leadership program, right? And all this information is here telling the employer the capacity in which this person worked. All right, volunteer, right? Very good, right? Remember, short and sweet, but you are giving the employers a little hints, right, to let them want or pique their interest, right? So we're doing it subtly, but it is doing the job, because all these things are going to allow you to get a call back, all right? All right, activities. Employers like to see people who have been involved in school or community activities. In this section, list special activities you participated in: prom committee, and organizations you joined, drama club, baseball team, etc. Now, why are these things important? Remember, if you weren't active in school, it may give a hint as to how you will be when you're working at a particular organization. All right. Now, if you are a part of the Key Club, the Interact Club, and so on, then these things would pique the employer's interest, because if you're working in the organization, then you would not have an issue, say, being involved in any team and or working in with any team, right? But if you did not take part in any activities in school, then the employers might say, I am not really liking the fact that they did not do any activities in school, right? Some employers want to know that you are multifaceted, right? You're not just focused on, or you weren't just focused on academics, because if that was the case, then when you start working for this company, all you would be doing is just working, and there would be no room to interact with your other co-workers, and this would make you a better person, right? But they don't want someone who just has tunnel vision, right? They want someone who would be multifaceted, because what this will do is to enhance their organization, right? So we always suggest that you try to be a part of clubs and societies in school, because this does good for you, because it it creates a beautiful resume, right? So remember that. So when the teachers are running you to your various clubs and societies, I would suggest that you go. But don't just go because of going sake. Take part. Be an active participant, right? It will all work out for you in the end. All right. Include the years in which you participated. Be aware, however, that some employers may eventually view this information as irrelevant. As high school students, this should not be a concern. All right, an example of how you would structure the activities section of your resume, right? So the heading is there, right? Activities, hall representative, 2018 to 2019. So remember, include the dates. They want to see the dates, right? Member of the tennis club, 2016 to 2019. Editor of the school paper, 2017 to 2019. All right? All right, summary of skills. Some people use this section to include special skills or talents that are not included elsewhere on the resume, but would be relevant to the employer. Some responsibilities or some possibilities are to type 60 words per minute, or being fluent in French, right? Now remember, our ultimate goal is to get this call back. Now, even though we are expected to be concise, or our resumes are expected to be concise or to be short, we are still going to include some subtle hints, right, that would give us an edge over the other applicants, right? And this is one such example of creating or including these subtle hints on our resumes. All right, skills, right? What are you good at, right? Event logistics in this case, print collaterals, designs and creation, public relations and marketing, fundraising, contract registrations, and management, right? These are some skills. Let's say, for example, you're working, you get the job, right? And based on your resume, your employee might see all of these and come to you and say, oh, Melissa, I remember from your resume that you mentioned that you're good at fundraising. All right, we have a venture that we are looking to start up, and we don't have the capital right this minute, but we could put you in the position to start a fundraising venture, right? So that we could start up this idea that we have, right? So these are subtle hints that will give you the edge over the other applicants. All right, references. Although it is common practice to put references available upon request at the bottom of a resume, most career advisors say it is unnecessary. However, there is nothing wrong with taking a nicely printed list of personal references with you to an interview. You should have 2 to 3 people who have observed your work habits, employers, teachers, coaches, etc., and 2 to 3 people who can speak about your character. Now, having references are good, right? Or is good. Now, what most employers do is when you outline your references, they tend to call them, right? And a lot of persons, they use persons who know them well as their references, right? So we do not suggest that you just use any random person. You might see this person or might have seen this person just once and you include them as your reference. No. These employers want persons who know you, right? Who have known you for more than 5 years, right? They know about your character. They know about you, your work habits, and so on. And these are things, or these are questions that the employers will ask these references, right? So get persons who know you, all right? So now another thing that we want to reiterate as it relates to our references, when you are including your references on your resumes, ensure that you ask the person's permission. Do not put their names and contact information without their permission. So call them and say, okay, Mr. Brown, I'm applying for this position and I would like you to be a reference, right? Give the person the opportunity to say yes or no, but don't just put their names down and their contact number without their permission, right? Remember that, please. All right, make sure you have asked their permission, as I just said, to include them as references. Only ask people who will speak well of you, right? Create a separate list of references, including their names, addresses, employers, job titles, and phone numbers. It is best to list work numbers since some people don't appreciate calls at home. You know an employer is interested when they request a list of references. All right, so all of these things we're asking that you bear them in mind. Ask the references permission, right? And we always suggest that you use their work number, right? But in this case, some persons will give you the permission to use their cell phone numbers, all right? But the important thing that we want to remember is to ask the references permission, all right? All right. How do you set up a resume? That is the question that many persons ask, especially students or persons who are just leaving high school, right? How do you set up a resume? Your resume should be divided into distinct sections. The italized words above are typical section headings. Do not label the heading section. Headings should stand out as bold-faced, larger text. So the heading, right, as I showed you in the example where the person had her name and her position, right, that section should be bigger than anywhere else, all right, because that is where the employer is going to look first. Employers tend to have certain headings that interest them the most. Make it easy for them to find them. Here are some suggested headers, major headers, to be used in almost all resumes. So these are headings or headers that are used in most resumes. And these are objective, education, employment history or work experience, school activities, right? Minor headings to be used if appropriate. Computer experience, associations, certifications, community activities, highlights of qualifications, honors and awards, interests and hobbies, projects, relevant courses, summary of qualifications, volunteer experience, right? So these are minor headings, right, that may or may not be included, right? But remember, because we want to have the edge over other persons, we would include some of these, all right? All right. Should items be arranged in any particular order? Yes. You want your resume to be coherently organized. There are two distinct types of resumes. Most young people utilize a chronological format. The chronological style is exactly what it sounds like. It follows your work history backward from your current job, listing employers, dates, and job responsibilities. This is the format that you would most likely use if you are new to the workforce and have limited experience. So what are we saying here? For you who may be just leaving high school, this format would be the best one for you. All right, the chronological format. For someone who has held many jobs like myself, the functional format is more useful. A functional resume is created without employment dates or company names. This format concentrates on skills and responsibilities and is more likely to be used after you have developed your career skills and have accomplishments to your credit. So the functional format is used mostly by persons who have a lot of experience under their belt, right? They have been working for quite some time, right? So the chronological format is suggested for high school students, right? And the functional format would be for like myself, who has been working for ages, all right? All right? Think about this. How important is the format? Is it important, right? The importance of the format lies in its consistency. Remember that. There is no one best resume format. Remember to stick to one format. It shows off your organizational abilities. All right? Going to the break. We're going for our final break. Sorry. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Welcome back. Now, we were asking some questions, right? Before we went for the break, the question was asked, is format important? Yes, it is. Now, remember, as I keep mentioning, the aim is to get a call for the interview, right? So we are going to be dropping some hints, right? And we want to have the edge over the other 450 applicants, right? We want the edge. We want to be among the 10 persons who are selected for the job, right? So we're going to be dropping some hints, right? Now, another question that is asked frequently, is the look of the resume important? Absolutely. Now, remember, because the employer will not be able to go through the resume with a fine-tooth comb, we want to do things to grab the employer's attention, right? So the look of the resume is important. When sending a resume to an employer or college, don't skimp, right? Don't just do it halfway, right? And think, okay, then it will do the job. No. Use white or off-white professional weight paper and black ink. Avoid using colored paper or fancy graphics in your resume unless the job you are applying for is in a career area that might stress this type of formatting. For example, art, graphic design, advertising, etc. Always print resumes using a quality laser printer. All right. So you're applying for a job as an administrative assistant. Do not write your resume on pink paper, right? Stick to plain off-white or white paper with black ink, right? Now, remember, in some cases, we don't need to have this pop of color all over the place, right? Our aim is to use our words, right, to grab the reader's attention or the employer's attention. Now, if you're applying for a job that requires that you are creative, that you go outside of the box, then you may use the color paper. And in some instances, they tell you, the employer tells you how they want you to structure your resume. All right? So bear these things in mind. Resume tips and suggestions. Now, we want that callback, right? So we want some tips to help us to get the callback. All right, number 1. Final hiring decisions are rarely based solely upon the resume. The resume is your advertisement, just like the Nike swoosh or the McDonald's arches, that will get you an interview. The resume should be a concise, factual, and positive listing of your education, employment history, and accomplishments. 2, make sure your resume is perfect. It only takes one error in spelling, punctuation, or grammar to cause an employer to stop reading. Ask people to proofread your resume. Go over it with a fine-tooth comb. All right, now we always say nobody's perfect and nothing is perfect, but can you imagine sending out a resume and it is laced with grammatical errors? What do you think will happen? File 13, right? Because the employer is going to say, but this person don't know how to write. I'm wondering if this person even went to their English classes, right? So these are the things that you need to bear in mind. So our aim is to make our resumes perfect, because this is what is going to help us to get that all-important callback, right? How perfect, how well done our resumes are. 3, limit your resume to 1 page. Only people with a great deal of related experience should have resumes longer than 1 page. And as I mentioned before, if you're just leaving high school, you would not have that much experience. So your resume would be able to fit on 1 page, right? But for someone like myself who has been working for quite some time, my resume would not be able to hold, or all my information would not be able to hold on 1 page, all right? But because you are new to the game, then one page would suffice. So as you gain your experience, then your resume would move from 1 page to 2. All right? So remember, be concise. 4, 1-inch margins around the page and blank lines between sections will make all the information easier to read. Use a 10-point font size minimum and avoid overuse of italics, bold, and underlining. 5, since you probably have little work experience, you will want to emphasize your accomplishments in and out of the classroom. Volunteer activities, hobbies, sports, honor roll, and student organizations are things that help define who you are and should be highlighted. List only recent honors and awards unless they are specifically relevant to the position for which you are applying. 6, present your job objective in a manner that relates both to the company and the job description. 7, sell yourself. Create a good first impression by highlighting skills and abilities appropriate to the position. If you don't sell yourself, your resume will stay in the pile with all of the others. Separate yourself. So remember, we want that all-important callback. So stand out. 8, tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Employers will pick up on a little white lie when they interview you. 9, choose your words carefully. In a resume, you need to sound positive and confident, neither too aggressive nor overly modest. Do not use I. Each description of your responsibilities should begin with a verb. All right, and these are some action verbs to strengthen your resume, right? So decision making, accept, activate, approve, authorize, decide, render, required. Right, and these are some other action verbs. Now here we have an example of a resume, right? Now everything that we have looked at so far is here. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using all that we learned today, right, and the resume, and we are going to be writing our own resumes. So that's all for today. Class time resumes tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, keep safe.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.